why does the town have to have 2 holiday schedules?
Well,
You know, is this something that you brought up, or does the selectmen?
no, that's always been that way.
Because, for example.
We work weekends, that's the only
No,
difference.
yeah, but for example, Thanksgiving is a holiday, right?
Right,
And if I understand correctly, I'm an employee there.
right.
I get my holiday pay, I just don't work Wednesday, correct?
No, you work Wednesday,
If I work Wednesday,
and then you get paid for a day of work,
Just-
plus you get.
just
the
like
holiday.
any other department,
Correct,
you know, if it,
right,
for example, the police department, if their day off was Friday, which is, excuse me, is off Thursday, which is Thanksgiving, they work their regular week and still get their pay and their holiday pay, right?
correct.
So why do, in your opinion, why do we need 2 pieces of paper?
Well, I can summarize it a little bit better. The thought process that came to me a little while ago, but I've been here 7 years. Anytime anybody starts talking about holiday pay, everybody's perception of holidays is different. And it's hard to work through that process of work time, holiday time, and pay. The easiest way that I came about understanding, at least what I perceive as the correct way, is the town budgets for 12 holidays, okay? I could care less what day they are in the calendar. I really could. We work Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday, no matter what the holiday is, okay? We could take and do it just like I think the police do, where they get the 12 holiday days and they get paid in December for the 12 holiday days. And whatever the schedule is, you either work, or if you take off, you take a day of vacation, or if you work that day, you get paid that day, plus if the holiday is on a Thursday or a Friday for us, we get an extra day of pay for the holiday. If it occurs on Wednesday, we work Wednesday, then you have a choice of either taking the day off and getting holiday pay, us being closed, or we have, you know, people that want to volunteer and come in and get an extra day, they'll work that holiday day and get paid for the holiday and for their work. So you can get yourself wrapped around an axle thinking of holiday days. It's basically we get 12 days of holiday pay that we budget for. So to me, because, you know, like every Thanksgiving is Thursday, and on our holiday schedule, we get the day, Thanksgiving Day, and the day after Thanksgiving. Because we arrange the holidays so that we have 12 holiday days. So that payday, we'll have 6 pay days, 6 days of paid time.
Yeah. I don't see why we need 2 pieces of paper.
It only works out for us where we have about 2 or 3 of the days that we can give the employee the option of coming in, us being minimally manned, like we did on Easter. Mm-hmm. That really helps with the contractors, and they like that. And we open up.
Well, Good Friday is another one. It's a technical holiday.
We have a minimum manning, so we get 1 or 2 guys that get paid a day of pay and a holiday day.
Now, to talk about holidays, Christmas is Monday. On a Monday this year,
Right.
right? Sunday is Christmas Eve.
Right.
It's a work day.
Right. For us, it's a work day.
Would you consider?
My next thing is number 3.
Okay, go ahead.
Number 3, request.
You're ahead of me.
I'm requesting because you know, we've done pretty well. We boosted the revenues. It's been continuous for a few years. I'm kind of asking that we get permission to close early on Christmas Eve, a couple hours early, and get, you know, just shut down at 2 o'clock rather than 4. And give the guys a little break to get home and kind of be with their families on Christmas Eve.
And you can notice the public how on the sign.
Well, we'll put a sign up like we did for the last one. We can post a sign on the door down here. Karen can put it on the.
You'll mention it in the report, in your newspaper report.
Right.
Yeah, is closed.
Tuptenboro Transfer Station will be closed Christmas Eve at 2 o'clock.
Great.
Does that, everybody agree?
That's fine.
Fine.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
We all are attending training at Lakes Region Planning Commission on construction debris. A good subject. The next 2 training blocks are very applicable for us. So everybody in the department is going to go on, with my exception of me, is going to go on the 14th of December. That'll give us 2 hours towards our credit for our annual training. We're going to do another training event, and this is in Meredith, so it's close. We're going to do another training event that everybody will participate in February. So that'll be our annual training. So the advantage to this is that then we don't have to go down to Manchester, and we don't have to, that's a pretty hefty fee to go to that training. And then send 6 people total to it. I plan on attending that training. I'll bring back any appropriate information, and we won't have a large cost. So we'll save quite a bit of money. The training will be local, and it will give us actually a couple more hours of training than what we would normally get. So the guys will advance a little bit quicker. I'd like to also put in for consideration that we look and see if there's a possible slot in the budget to add we've talked about it a couple times. It's never really kind of made it up to the top of the list, but I've done a little more research on it, and we'd like to look into purchasing a snow box pusher for the backhoe, which would extremely help the road agent and the amount of time that it takes to clear that facility. We go around all the machines, we do all the tight stuff, but if we had a snow pusher for that backhoe.
These are what you see in parking lots like...
Absolutely. Like if you go up to Hannaford's and Ocean State job lots, you'll see there's a front end loader, and it's got a pusher box on the front. They also have a pusher
Basically
box.
a blade with sides on it.
It's got, it's a much longer blade. It's 12 feet versus 10, and it's got sides on it. It sits higher. It collects the snow, and you're just pushing it, and it doesn't drip off the edges. So when you're plowing with the backhoe or the Bobcat, anytime you plow, or even the pickup trucks that the town uses, you're going to get this berm, and then eventually it burls up and it builds berms on. So you're going over what you've already gone over twice. It would significantly reduce the amount of time it takes to clean up that whole station. So it runs around $5,000 for and the attachments and hardware that's necessary. There's a backup bar. There's a couple things. But basically, you hook the bucket down into it, you chain it on, and that's it. And there's no moving mechanical parts. Once you get it, it's good. It lasts forever.
Every parking lot of every store I go to has them.
Right. Even if you go to the liquor store down in Wolfboro, in the back there by the car wash, and you'll see a Bobcat sitting back there. That's got a pusher box on it. And eventually, what I'd like to also do is get a pusher box for the Bobcat.
Do you have money in this year's budget for that?
I have not put any money in this upcoming budget for this particular thing.
So do we need to reopen your budget submission and add money to include this 2018?
Yes, and it would be the first line of my budget, which is purchase new equipment and add, and basically add $5,000 to that new equipment.
How does the board feel?
And what I'd like to do is I'd like to do the backhoe this year, January, and then do the Bobcat 2019.
I'm in favor of it for a couple of reasons. First of all, it's all pavement.
It helps you.
Okay, that's right. And you do have people walking around and all that. You also have 2 very safe operators, knock on wood. And I've seen this equipment in use, and it's the way to go.
Right.
And do you have some unused Bobcat equipment that could be?
We do, and that gives me a little bit of time to work. We have a couple attachments for the Bobcat that we have for the old Bobcat that we could possibly trade in for the snow box from, Bobcat. So I could significantly probably reduce the price of the Bobcat one for 2019.
So you'd be putting it under line one?
It should be line one in my budget, new equipment.
Yeah.
I think there's $1,500 in there or something. No,
Like,
1,000.
It was a
Well,
thousand.
this year you have 1,000 in there. I don't have the budget submission in front of us. Yeah.
What number is your budget?
4324.
I have it. I got it right here. 42, 4324. New equipment, $1,000.
And what's the gross amount of the budget, bottom line?
Bottom line is 365, 622.
So it's up 14,000 from
Yes,
this year.
351.
That was, some of that increase was,
Wages
Yeah.
and Syntec, the test. Remember we're testing?
right, does that include the cable?
Yes.
Yes, it did. Yeah.
So was, did it
Yep.
include the cable?
Yep.
His is my personal ones. What we approved last time. What you approved last time.
So you requested 360, we approved 365. This is gonna push us up to
370.
370.
Do you want to discuss it when we do
Yeah,
budgets?
can we look at the whole budget before we make that decision?
Sure. Absolutely. This is one of the, that includes transportation, you got it here, by the way. That price are pretty close to that price. And,
That's the $5,000.
right.
So,
And that's
you mentioned some Bobcat attachments.
Correct.
And that might be trade in.
Correct.
And you were talking next year, so I guess my question is, if they have value for trade-in, could they be used as trading against this year's box purchase?
No, because we would be dealing with case.
Different.
Yeah, different company,
supplier.
different
Okay.
manufacturer.
Yep, yep, all right. Makes sense.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. I had a meeting with Fairbanks Scale representative, Peter. He's their senior guy, he's been with them for 20-some years, I think. And Lloyd came up and sat in on the meeting. We went over options and placement recommendations for the truck scales we talked about. That's, I have that listed in 2019 for CIP entry. But I wanted to get a little better professional guidance from the guys who installed and put them in and maintained them as to where would be a good location to put it. The scales themselves and the hardware, that's easy to figure out. The impact of the operation by where you put it, where you have to put it, what the rules are, what the state requires. And there are some requirements that I was unaware of. There's a lighting requirement, but they have all that. They have all that in their package. Excuse me just a second. I can look at this package. This has individual pages, but they just got done finishing the same scale, 34 foot in ground. It's called an in-bed system.
Yep.
Where they dig out about 8 feet deep, and they pour concrete foundation, and then they do placement inside there with some manual sensors, and it's flat surface, and the location that he came up with was pretty much catty corner to where my office is in the recycling building, where it's the flattest area, and it would be a perfect place because we already have 2 windows out of the office where you could be monitoring and weighing from inside the office.
So it'd be a back end or?
They would come in and go across the scale, come around, go down by the metal pile, up, back in, come in, and then back into the CD. And when they come out of the CD empty, they go across the scale again. So you get your full weight coming in,
Yeah.
empty weight when they come out.
And it's not just the purchase of the scale that costs the town, it's gonna be the ongoing upkeep.
Right, they do the maintenance, they have a maintenance program.
So we need to know that, and the state, I think, has to come and calibrate it from time to time.
No, they, actually Fairbanks Scales will come and calibrate it and submit the paperwork to the state.
Right.
But it's certified, whatever the requirement is for certification, Fairbanks will do that.
And what is the lifespan of one of these things?
Well, he's had them in the ground in places that are 40 years old. So, and it still work. The beauty of this embedded system is they have 2 manhole covers that are large enough so they can, you don't have to pull the whole thing out. You take the manhole cover off, you get down underneath, and there's only one repairable item that's, what do you say, $100, a couple $100, some kind of a sensor. And there's only one of them. And so it's real easy. If it goes bad, all the other stuff is mechanical, or if it needs a repair, it can be welded or whatever. But the only basically repairable item that costs money, that you would consider the possibility of breaking, is this $100 or $200 sensor, and that the access to it's easy, so it's just coming out and getting to it, and then making sure it's recalibrated. But there are light requirements. We have a stoplight, a go light, and you have it has to be visible from the driver of the vehicle, the full weight, or as he pulls on the full weight, and then when he's on the scale again, the empty weight. So, and then they can get out and come in
And how long a scale is this?
34 feet.
34 feet.
And I couldn't get over this. That's not going to be long enough. That's not going to be long enough.
Yeah.
But it's from the front of the tire, the front tire, to the back of the back tire. You don't have to go all the way to the back of the trailer. So the tire base is what goes. So that'll cover. And he said a 34-foot scale will weigh a roll-on, roll-off truck from Waste Management. You know, the single.
Right.
And I'm going to go down to look at Alton's scales. The person, you know, he had pictures are worth 1,000 words, but I want to go down and look at Alton's, and I'll take some pictures down there and show you. And they, out of that bed they build, there's the one drainage to and we have a drain cover.
You got a sump down there.
That's right near it, so it's not a very long push. The only difficulty may be the underground power that comes into the buildings, and we may have to move that.
Right. And there's a plumbing thing down that way, isn't there?
No, the plumbing thing is right in front of my door.
Right.
It would actually start before that. They may do a concrete slab that comes off the drive-off end and the entrance end, and they'd go around that, you know, leave the manhole for the septic in place.
Yeah.
But the only other part that would affect us, it's about a 2.5 month operation,
Yeah.
start to
And
finish.
you should ask when you're in Alton if they've got a commercial rate that they charge.
Right, they do. I know Marlboro charges 8 cents a pound. And
I
I
know,
think,
I'm thinking for just a weight. I mean,
For
I used to
commercial
be in
weight
the-
scale.
Yeah, I used to be in the trucking business.
Oh, you mean
in the
for,
70s. Yeah, I need to get a weight on my truck.
okay.
Yeah.
So, and I guess
Right.
that's the other question. 34-foot scale, one of the things about having a scale is having it be available as a public scale to somebody that needs weights. And is that 34-foot scale big enough to take a standard over-the-road tractor trailer, 53-footer?
Clay asked those questions.
Oh, okay.
Right.
It is.
There's and I can't remember what the name he called it, there's a split axle weighing.
Mhm.
If you're charging fees for like we would be charging to dump, we can't legally split axle weigh.
Mhm.
But if somebody's just gonna weight check,
Mhm.
they can do a split axle weight.
For example, when we did this in Lee, because we did a lot of trucks when I was a cop, it actually could be used by the police department to weigh a truck for the state
Right.
police.
Now, the only bad thing
It
is
also,
that we're only open, I'm sorry, go
go
ahead.
ahead, go ahead.
We're only open Tuesday and
4 days a
Wednesday.
week, yeah.
Now, Saturday and Sunday, the other option you could do is coordinate, but then you're letting people in the building. And I'm not sure we want to do that. You know, we could have an on-call person or something like that, you know, and give them a little money or something like that.
That's what they did in Lee with Madbury Metals.
And if somebody wants to make a little extra money every now and then, you could call that and go out, open up the gate, let them in,
And the other thing that it does is, remember with Empire and a couple
Right.
of the other
Well,
businesses,
that's-
you would send them to Molten Borough to be weighed empty.
right,
You'd fill them up, you'd send them back to be weighed. Now they could do that right at your facility.
right.
And then there would be no,
Or if-
Misunderstanding.
If somebody else had a need for that or
Yes.
questioned their loads being shorted, then you could send them.
I have some information
You know,
from,
NRA, that's how I did it. I directed NRA that whatever trucking company they used would have to stop in Marlboro first, empty weight, stop there, going back. That's when Empire stopped coming to us,
Mhm.
because they wouldn't, you know. So, and the other tidbit of information I found out was, you know, I was under the impression that some of this may be that people from surrounding areas are trying to utilize us because we have lower rates. According to the Fairbanks scale rep, they're inundated and flooded with requests for scales and scale information because every station's having the same problem.
yes.
And so I think I can be less pessimistic and more optimistic that the reason we're getting so much material is because the economy is better. And that people are doing more minor projects and not major projects that they're having these guys bring stuff to us. So that's a positive. And that's it. So you're going to look at, you all will relook at the budget to see if you can add that 5 in.
Yeah.
And we'll put it in the paper about Christmas Eve. Karen, if you can put it on the website.
Sure, no problem.
We'll close at 2 o'clock.
Is Alton
Okay.
open today?
They're open today, but I can't go today.
Okay.
I have to go to enforcement.
Write your phone number down so I can look at it, right here.
Okay.
Who wants to dump their stuff?
They complimented Clay, talking with the guy from Fairbanks. He says, you've asked more good questions than any 2 people I've talked to. So, Clay definitely is working
Well,
hard
it's,
on this.
I knew right from the start, when we want to change, you only want to change once,
Months.
and you want to do it correctly, with the least impact to the residents, because there's nothing that frustrates me more than just every time you go into something different, you know? Find the right way to do it, you know?
Okay.
But,
Have a safe trip. Thank you. Chief Shigori? Hello, sir.
Thank you.
Everybody's working, so crime's down.
Accidents are down. Motor
Yeah.
vehicle stops are down.
Everything's down.
Yeah, offenses are up.
What?
It says the number of offenses are up slightly from last year.
Good fences make good neighbors, right?
But
Oh, these are off.
off offenses. Incidents are down slightly. And I know, asked for this in the past, the IVRs.
That's an acronym for what?
Incident-based reporting, it breaks down the 136 as to what kinds of crimes they are.
Didn't they also have UCR reports?
UCR's uniform crime reports.
Do you do those too?
I just have been doing, well, that comes right out. That's what the,
One was for LEAP, one was for
yeah.
right?
The FBI is transitioning everything to NIBRS, National Incident-Based Reporting System, that. But there still is the UCR ability to generate that.
Is
That
that
talks
really,
about type A, type B.
is that really functional for your needs? In your
No,
opinion?
there's probably more.
Okay.
But, I mean, I have the ability to generate them, but that I can generate easier than I can the other. The other I have to close out a month before I can generate them. So,
So the 136 offenses are, I don't need to know exactly, but what are they generally?
all of the larceny, all other offenses, those are the biggest groups.
All other offenses?
All other offenses, that's a catch-all for anything that doesn't fit under one of the other categories.
Does it include non-status offenses like juvenile, truancy?
Well,
stuff?
juvenile will show up in there. So in other words, they break down burglary, theft from a building, theft from a motor vehicle, then it's all other larceny. Motor vehicle theft, if you actually stole a vehicle. It shows it in November, I think that was in October, but
So it's not like misdemeanor versus felony or any of that sort of thing?
yeah, there's like 3 aggravated assaults for the year. The thing to realize, these are reported, some of these may be unfounded. One of the aggravated assaults, we sent the person that like our answer that it was not what they claimed it was, so we sent it up to the county attorney's office and it came to the same conclusion. So by saying this is the number reported to us. That does not necessarily mean these are the ones that are
Resolution.
either we've either arrested somebody, charged somebody, or don't have a suspect because it's unsolved. It maybe it just didn't work out like you think. Just because you claimed you were a victim doesn't mean.
So does it always remain, I mean,
Right.
but does it always remain in the offenses category, or does
Yeah.
it move?
No, it means in the offenses because it's what we investigated as an
So-
offense.
If it's
It's reported.
founded and we make an arrest,
There's another. I could actually generate another sheet that shows how many were.
okay, you
Clear
have
otherwise.
17
17 arrests. Yep.
Were any of those originally offenses?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so the number's sort of meaningless.
The 136.
Yeah.
Except it shows we've had to deal with
Actually
those.
do something.
For those
So,
136.
so these numbers double count some of the things, right? In other words, if it's an offense, it counts as an offense. If it subsequently becomes an arrest, it counts as an arrest.
Yes. Yes.
I-
You don't total up the bottom and get something
Right.
because you could have an accident that gets a summons, or somebody can be arrested for DWI out of it, which would be one of the liquor driving under the influence. So
So,
So we can't divide the gross total by the number of hours worked and figure out what you did all day.
no, probably not.
Okay. Sorry, Bill, I interrupted.
no, that's fine. And arrests and felonies, arrests or non-felony arrests, I'm guessing.
Arrests are for anything. It could be felony, it could be for violation.
Okay,
When we took somebody into custody. Arrests also include somebody we take into protective custody for alcoholism.
When you
or
limit their freedom.
when we limit their freedom, we've actually pulled an arrest number because we've put the habeas corpus on.
Because you have arrested them.
Yes,
Yep,
we interfere with their freedom. But it doesn't mean necessarily they
Free to
can,
go?
you're free to go.
Okay.
Anytime you want, just walk right out.
All right.
So Yeah, and arrested, so it includes also non-crimes like drunkenness or under the influence of drugs or involuntary emergency admissions for hospitalization for mental health issues. So it can include more than just crimes.
I had a couple questions, but go ahead, gentlemen. Do you have more?
No, just last month we had obviously a fair number of call-outs, but we did, this month we're closing in on finishing out our training for the year. Some of the, that's our big push this year, is closing out our training, get our use of force training done, get our recert on our Narcan completed, and those are the big, and then I have to finish, once we do all that, then I'd send the paperwork into police standards and training council showing that we've met our mandated training and met our hours of training that we had to do.
So I know did we decide White Horse was gonna be a warrant article this first time through?
We haven't decided anything on
We haven't decided
Okay.
anything.
But
So
on White Horse, I know we're gonna,
typically in the past, I believe, new health agencies are brought to town meeting as a separate article in the warrant.
so if we do that, you're gonna wanna step up and talk to.
I hear very
them.
positive about the efforts and
Is that the one that was a warrant article last year?
No.
No, that
No,
was-
it's still
That's
bigger than
that's
came out.
Conway.
Yeah.
It's the
That's
two,
White
It's the
Mountain
one on
Recovery.
Ossipee, yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
We had asked her about the
Sure.
county funding versus town
Mhm.
Yes.
funding, and she's broken that up, or bifurcated it.
That's what we did last year with the one, it was a warrant article and it was added to on the floor.
Right. Yeah,
But it would be
White
nice if
Mountain.
the chief could speak to that, because I don't think we can speak as knowledgeably as he can about it.
I know he's spoken with CASA and
White Horse,
Team
I
project.
hear positive. There was some concern, I think, with some people, maybe early on, that, there's a religious, but they have a secular,
there's a dichotomy.
they do have it split out to kind of, I think, to address that, and I hear wonderful things. I mean, it's needed.
And they have reached out to
Yeah.
Tufton.
It's needed, and they're opening, and they do some great work. They go over, every Wednesday, they go over to the Kingswood Youth Center and work with the kids there, and also talk to them about prevention and drug addiction. And then also, looks like they're branching into Ospey too. They're doing some great work there, so
Well, there's a need.
there's definitely a need.
So we also spoke on Friday to the road agent, and one of the topics was, I think, striping.
Yes.
And that's an issue that